one of 7 billion people on the planet that doesn't have any assets, then according to my belief system, all prices are rising. You're one of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs that understand why this is the first time in history that we've seen something that is decentralized and secure, and they're going to do everything to make sure it stays that way. You're one of the massive amount of Bitcoiners in the middle, pricing Bitcoin from within the system of the piece of paper. Then your IRR is a 45% IRR. If it stays decentralized and secure, it doesn't matter what I'm saying right now. It will reprice everything in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Completely. So when people ask me about price relative to fiat instrument debasing or price falling today or anything else, I'm so confused by the question, because it is repricing no matter what the world if it stays decentralized and secure. So price is relative to other things, and it makes no difference if it falls a bunch. Buy more if it stays decentralized and secure. Constantly buy more. Buy at the highs, buy at the lows, because if that thing, it will reprice everything else. Most people today are still pricing it in a currency unit that is centralizing. So they're pricing it in a fiat that is centralizing, and that could produce risk for it staying decentralized and secure. We'll explore that differently, but through that attack vector. So why I say if is because you don't have to worry about anything else. You don't have to worry about what Powell says today. You don't have to worry about $100 trillion being printed tomorrow. You don't have to worry about anything else if it stays decentralized and secure. That's the only thing you have to worry about. And then through that process, so then the second reason why I say that is so everybody does their own work to understand why it will stay decentralized and secure. So the probability of failure of this network, in my mind, is so insignificant that it is captured, it is centralized, because I've done the work to understand all of the different attack vectors that could come, will absolutely must come from the existing system, and why it will still stay decentralized and secure in my probability estimation. And so when I first was in Bitcoin and when I first really started understanding this and trying to kill this in my own mind, I had a 5% probability of that failing in time. And I had a 100% probability of their existing financial system failing in time. So it was interesting.
Well, I think that is certain too.
Yeah. Yes. But it was interesting that I assigned more risk to Bitcoin with a 5% probability of centralization in time than I assigned to the existing financial system, and everything I did at 100% chance of failing.
Yeah.
So that was just interesting it was for myself to go through that process. But then by going through the process, I decreased my probabilities more and more and more, to the point where if you understand how the protocol works, and you understand how the consensus mechanism works, and you understand how essentially at the bottom of Bitcoin is us, right? We are Bitcoin. So if you run a node, you're part of the network, making sure this thing is staying decentralized and secure. If you're one of the thousands, hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs that understand why this is the first time in history that we've seen something that is decentralized and secure, and they're going to do everything to make sure it stays that way. If you said ocean mining, right, is a good example of something that is constantly looking for risk and building forward to make sure that this stays decentralized and secure. And so I'm part of this ecosystem that sees how many people know this breakthrough for humanity and are part of a network that will not let this thing get captured. And if you just go back to kind of 1992, and you say the cypherpunks mailing list, the cryptography mailing list, those people knew this problem long before I did, right? They are actually the heroes of this story. And they had this insight that we needed to bring cryptography into the public and get money out of state. And there were so many tries, and they failed. Like all of these tries were Bcash, all of these things were failures. And then that led to Satoshi's looking at all these things and coming up with a way to solve the problem, which was a discovery that solved the problem. But that discovery wouldn't exist without all the failures. Mm-hmm. So now think through that time. So that means Satoshi and everybody else is just, we should celebrate the failures to get here just as much as we should the success, because they were part of the success, right? And that group grew from 70 people in 1992 to more and more and more and more, to the point today that there's probably, let's call it at least tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of full nodes and people like you and me that know the same thing that the cryptographers knew at that time. And they're all vigilant in keeping this thing decentralized and secure. And yes, there are a lot of people that will try to co-opt this, right? And people just learning the process right now at the very top end of this funnel, trying to stop this thing from happening. But that 70 people has turned into 100,000 people today, or just approximately. It'll be 1 million people in a year or 2 years from now. It'll be 10 million people after that, because this network that's in service to us, right, is worth protecting. And when you get down to the bottom of the rabbit hole, you realize we are it. And most people don't realize this choice. They're living in a system of scarcity, extraction, coercion, control. And they can just move their time to one of truth, hope, and abundance. And as they move their time and they understand the magnitude of that choice on themselves and everybody else around them, they could never go back to the scarcity, control, coercion. Never. And so that's why the rabbit hole, if you think about it in layers, you never see somebody go deeper and then go back.
Yeah.
Right. You see people go halfway there and then try to co-opt the system, right? Because they try to make more money from this through leverage or something else like that. You see lots.
Like the guy with the stake in the matrix.
Yeah,
that's what I think.
Like Roger Ver, right? And you see a lot of that. You see a lot of people. Okay, I'm going to change this protocol to capture control, because and you see a lot of people getting wiped out like that through other coins. But you very rarely see somebody going down to the bottom of the rabbit hole, understanding what we're talking about now, and then making a choice to go back. Because what would that choice say about them?
Yeah, but that's the ego part.
The choice, what it says about them is, I'm more important than this network.
Yes.
My needs matter more than everybody else, and I'm more important than this, and I'm going to try to co-opt it. You'll see a lot of people doing that through the process. But I'm saying once you really understand this, you understand we've always lived in an exploitative market for all of time. Every history book is on top of that exploitative market. And we are first now a competitive cooperative market, where all of everything everybody is doing on this network flows to everybody on this network.
Yeah.
So once you see that, you can't unsee it, and you spend more time, and you just move your time. And that time, as more and more people move their time, expands this network. And here's the opposite of the other thing. Just in supply and demand or markets function, every scarcity creates an abundance. So you could argue that the scarcity of a system coalescing in a centralized control system was the inspiration for Satoshi and all the cypherpunks.
Is this, you think, I mean, this is for the people that get into Bitcoin because number go up, which still is the best marketing, I think, for Bitcoin. This may sound very far away in, the steps that people would go through. I don't think this is what gets people in.
This is just why, if you just think about it in a sliding scale of 1, you think Bitcoin's a scam. 10, it's the greatest discovery ever for humans, and it touches everything: consciousness,
exactly. Yeah.
And that's why that when people are talking about this, they're talking about different aspects, and Bitcoin isn't. It's a prism of your own belief system, right? It's not. And so imagine I'm a one, right? And I'm looking at the world through my lens, which I believe is objective reality. Then, according to my world, let's say I'm one of 7 billion people on the planet that doesn't have any assets. Then, according to my belief system, all prices are rising. Mm-hmm. And the world's getting more and more dangerous, and it's more and more scarce. And I need to trust government more to be able to solve the problem. And I'm feeding the thing that's extracting from me greater and greater. And I'm part of a cog in that system, making my reality worse. But I don't know it. I think it's a perfect belief system for 7 billion people on this planet, and they believe it, right? And so the world matches their belief system perfectly. And if you told them, if you went to a 10 on this, where they live today, and how much essentially persecution, modern day slavery, what their lives look like, it would sound like you were talking gibberish, mm-hmm. right? It would, like, they couldn't react to what you're talking about. Yeah. Let's take the opposite end of that same belief system. Let's take the 20 or 30 people who own half of the world's wealth, right? Then that belief system that doesn't like Bitcoin is getting richer and richer from the same thing extracting from those other people. And they can't understand why those other people, why that you can't build walls enough to keep high enough to keep out those other people. And why is the world disintegrating? And from their belief system, because they're actually extracting from the other, and they have no idea. And all of this is happening. And so, if you understood Bitcoin and it's repricing all of that, then according to your view, all prices are falling. And the billionaires, the 2,750 billionaires and the 63 million millionaires, they all can't buy a Bitcoin. Right? And so it's repricing them too. And it doesn't care, right? It doesn't care what I'm saying, because all prices relative to Bitcoin are falling forever if it stays decentralized and secure. And then if you're one of the massive amount of Bitcoiners in the middle, pricing Bitcoin from within the system of the piece of paper, then your IRR is a 45% IRR. You think you're getting rich in that piece of paper because your other assets are going at 8% or 6% or 4% or losing money. But that means those other assets are losing 45% or 40% or 35% according to Bitcoin each year. And because you're pricing it in the derivative instrument, you're more than likely to one day get liquidated, because it's not you're not holding Bitcoin in self-custody, you're not using it, you're centralizing it because your belief system, because you're pricing it in the US dollar. Mm-hmm. And all three of those belief systems are true for every person experiencing this, right? As this new system is imposing a new reality on all of us. And so over time, people will choose which they believe, and and if they choose, like, I just imagine one of the 7 billion people that's just choosing to stay in a system of theft and coercion, they're going to get hurt. Imagine the people that are just holding their Bitcoin in ETFs, and they think they own a derivative instrument of it. They're going to get hurt one day because systems are incompatible.